Welcome to IT Playground Podcast, where technology meets innovation. Join us as we explore the latest trends, insights, and expert opinions on all things IT. Okay, let's dive in. We're taking a deep look at South Africa's information and communication technology sector today, pulling insights from a stack of recent sources you've shared with us. Now, this isn't just any sector, is it? It's really flagged as a critical engine for the country's economic development, a major digital hub for the whole Southern African region, actually. And what's striking in the material is its reported resilience. I mean, it's contributing positively to GDP and employment, even with big national challenges like, load shedding and unemployment.
Absolutely. And what the sources really emphasize is how central this sector is to South Africa's whole push into the Fourth Industrial Revolution, or 4IR. We're talking about that era defined by rapid technological change. Think AI, IoT, cloud, 5G, those key pillars. The Presidential Commission actually singled these out, along with others like cybersecurity and fintech, as priority subsectors.
Right. So our mission for you today is to really unpack what these sources are telling us about the current state and the future direction of SA's ICT. We want to look at the key trends, market dynamics, the challenges naturally, and what the projections suggest across these core areas. Let's kick off with cloud computing. It's a massive area, and, our sources point to rapidly accelerating adoption in South Africa. Looking at the numbers, the market here was valued at over R94 billion just last year in 2023.
Yeah, our 94 billion is significant, and the projections show really robust growth. They're forecasting the market hitting around 113 billion by 2028. That's a strong compound annual growth rate.
And it's interesting how that fits into the global picture, isn't it? Cloud adoption is already incredibly high globally among enterprises, something like over 94%.
It is, and within Africa itself, major businesses are already running about 45% of their workloads in the public cloud. Southern Africa actually leads that pack with roughly 50% usage across the different service types, infrastructure, platform, and software as a service. But the really fascinating insight from the sources is the trend within South Africa. So while infrastructure as a service, IS basically renting servers and storage online, is high now, it's used by about 60% of surveyed organizations. The future growth, the sources suggest, is going to be stronger in platform as a service, PaaS, and software as a service, SaaS.
Oh, okay. So PaaS is currently at 31% adoption and SaaS at 15%.
That's right. PaaS lets developers build apps without managing the underlying stuff, and SaaS is, the ready-to-use software we all know.
So the sources suggest a kind of strategic shift happening, moving beyond just lift and shift migrations.
Precisely. It's a move up the cloud stack. It's becoming less about just migrating existing servers and more about leveraging these cloud platforms for actual innovation, faster software development, delivering new digital services, which definitely means there's a critical need for different kinds of technical skills in the workforce, a real skill shift.
Makes sense. So what's driving all this locally? According to the sources, what are the key factors?
Well, it's several things coming together. Improved connectivity, obviously, with fiber rollout. The appeal of reduced operational costs compared to running your own data centers. Then there's the enhanced local data center infrastructure actually coming available, which is huge. Plus the global shift towards remote and hybrid work. And, of course, businesses increasingly demanding optimization and just generally rising investment in the tech sector overall.
And we've seen really tangible examples of that enhanced infrastructure build-out. Microsoft opened its local data centers, Cape Town and Joburg, back in 2019.
Exactly. And Google just launched its first Africa cloud region in Johannesburg in, January 2024. These are really crucial developments. They dramatically reduce latency, improve reliability. They significantly accelerate innovation, especially for startups and SMBs. Basically, putting advanced cloud services right on the doorstep, offering those core benefits like cost reduction, efficiency, scalability, agility, locally. And what's key here, and the sources highlight this, is how this infrastructure build is linked directly to policy. That national policy on data and cloud, introduced in 2024, explicitly encourages South African data to stay within the country's borders.
Ah, the data residency requirement.
Exactly. That policy requirement is a major impetus, a real push for these global providers to invest in local data centers. You see this kind of synergistic effect. Policy drives infrastructure investment, which then fosters a more secure environment and naturally speeds up cloud adoption even further.
Interesting. And we're seeing some local use cases mentioned too, right? Like that African financial institution launching a digital bank entirely on public cloud, allowing them to scale dynamically as they grew. That's a great example.
It is. And even the SA government, the sources note, recognizes cloud's potential for cost reduction and transformation. SETA launched its government cloud infrastructure way back in 2018.
So for you listening, as cloud becomes more central, Maybe think about what opportunities this acceleration creates for you in terms of jobs, new services, maybe even starting your own venture.
Well,
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's look at the Internet of Things, or IoT. It's expanding connectivity, opening up all sorts of new use cases across South Africa. Our sources estimate the IoT market will be worth around R 146.45 billion in 2025.
and projected to nearly double, reaching R 273.35 billion by 2030. That's a healthy compound annual growth rate, over 13%. And the specific market just for IoT devices, that's growing even faster, expected to hit R 43.59 billion by 2030, with a CAGR over 20%.
Wow. And the fastest growing segment there is edge devices.
Yeah, those devices doing processing right where the data is collected. Think smart cameras, industrial sensors, that sort of thing.
So what's fueling this growth? Is it similar drivers to cloud?
Some overlap, but also distinct factors. Continued fiber rollout helps. Decreasing data costs make it more affordable, obviously. Rapid urbanization creates denser areas for deployment. And there's the government's increasing focus on smart city initiatives. But crucially, businesses are really starting to see the tangible value of IoT.
For operational efficiency, you mean?
Yeah.
And data-driven decisions.
Exactly. And 5G is playing a role too, particularly for the more demanding applications like industrial IoT or IIoT. You know, connecting this back to the bigger picture, the sources frame this widespread IoT application not just as adding sensors, but as a real strategic shift. It's about data-driven optimization, potentially diversifying the economy. They call it a reimagining of traditional operational models.
Reimagining how?
By leveraging real-time data from all these connected devices, industries can unlock, well, unprecedented efficiency, optimize resource use, improve safety, boost productivity. It positions IoT as key for modernizing existing industries and enabling new ones.
And the examples in the sources are pretty diverse, aren't they? Covering quite a few sectors.
They really are. In retail, you've got smart inventory with RFID, real-time tracking, customer analytics, smart shelves, connected payments.
And in industrial IoT, manufacturing, energy, mining.
Yeah, things like predictive maintenance fixing equipment before it breaks, real-time data analytics for efficiency, smart grids, smart meters for energy, agriculture uses it for smart irrigation, livestock tracking, soil monitoring. Mining, a big one for SA, uses it for equipment tracking, predicting maintenance, and vital real-time safety monitoring, air quality, structural integrity, things like that.
Right, in smart cities, transport.
Smart lighting, connected traffic management. That byte fuse qubit system gets mentioned again, dynamically adjusting signals.
And even health and elder care.
Yeah, remote patient monitoring use cases are starting to emerge there too. It makes you think, doesn't it? How many connected devices are already sort of invisibly part of your daily life, and where might you see more popping up soon that could change how you live or work?
Okay, now let's move to artificial intelligence, AI. This is where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit complex given the potential impacts. It's definitely a priority for SA's 4IR Commission.
Yeah.
The market projections here are substantial. The AI agents market think chatbots, virtual assistants, projected to reach R5.78 billion by 2030. That's an explosive KGR of 48.5%.
Huge growth. And adaptive AI, the kind that learns and improves, is expected to reach R2.83 billion by 2030, with a KGR still over 43%.
And the sources noted machine learning was largest recently, but deep learning is growing fastest.
That's the trend indicated, yes.
But here's a statistic from the sources that genuinely surprised me. Over 60% of South African workers already regularly using generative AI tools like ChatGPT, with 21% using them daily. That's reportedly higher than rates in France, the UK, even the US.
It's a fascinating insight, isn't it? That high adoption rate. It suggests a real, perhaps unique cultural readiness and adaptability within the workforce here. Maybe it's not just top-down corporate initiatives, but significant grassroots adoption too.
What could that mean for Desai?
Well, it could position South Africa quite uniquely. Maybe to develop AI solutions tailored very specifically to local needs and contexts, potentially even become an exporter of AI expertise in certain niches. However, and this is the crucial part, the sources immediately introduce the paradox. Alongside this high adoption, there's significant anxiety.
The job displacement fear.
Exactly. Around 70% of white-collar workers surveyed expressed fear of AI automation. They believe, on average, that about 45% of their current job tasks could potentially be automated away.
And the sources directly link this anxiety to a clear skills gap.
They do. Almost 85% of workers want AI training, but over half find the current training options inadequate.
That's a big disconnect.
It is, and the risk highlighted is significant. If this gap isn't addressed effectively and, urgently, this rapid AI adoption could actually worsen social inequality, potentially lead to higher unemployment, even while AI promises overall economic growth.
A real double-edged sword.
Very much so.
But the sources do give plenty of examples of how AI is already being applied locally in financial services.
Fraud detection, customer support, across the risk value chain, a specific SA retail bank is mentioned for its comprehensive use.
Retail e-commerce.
Chatbots, logistics optimization, Takealot is cited. Operational efficiency, SPA using Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Telecoms.
Big expectations there for transforming customer ops, marketing, sales, even things like negotiation Copilot.
And public sector.
Yeah, anticipating changes in customer operations, software engineering, potential AI assistance for tax filing, maybe generating preliminary audit reports. Other examples mentioned include data analytics firms like Spatial Edge, that ByteFuse Quebit traffic system, again using AI, community chat moderation like Escumsapush, and really important health diagnostics work by the CSIR for HPV and TB.
So it's spreading fast.
It is. And stepping back, the sources mention the potential for AI across the entire African continent could unlock huge economic value up to $1.88 trillion annually. And briefly, it's worth noting South Africa does have a proposed national AI policy framework. The sources suggest it aims for a human-centered approach, focusing on ethics, fairness, bias mitigation, integrating AI into education, public services, though some concerns were raised about transparency in its development and maybe the commitment to open source principles. We'll have to see how that evolves. So thinking about all that, the opportunity, the anxiety, the skills gap, let's pose this to you. How do you navigate this tension between AI's potential and the fear around jobs? What might this mean for developing your own skills, planning your career paths?
Okay, switching focus now. Let's look at government transformation and this idea of data localization. Our sources highlight a roadmap for the digital transformation of government. Sounds like a pretty significant, comprehensive vision trying to unify what were maybe fragmented digital efforts before.
Exactly. It's framed as a whole-of-government approach, and its importance is underlined by its link to Operation Vulindela Phase 2, that broader government program for structural reforms.
And there's been a tangible result already, right? That UN e-government index ranking.
Yeah, a really notable achievement mentioned. South Africa jumped significantly from 65th globally in 2022 right up to 40th in 2024. That positions SA as one of Africa's leaders in digital government services.
So how are they achieving this? What's the core strategy?
Well, the sources explain the government is strategically adopting something called digital public infrastructure, or DPI. They see it as foundational. This integrated approach is viewed as crucial for achieving widespread digital inclusion and boosting efficiency dramatically.
And what does DPI actually involve?
The roadmap seems to center on 4 core DPI initiatives. First, building a secure, functional digital identity, maybe even with a digital credential wallet. Second, establishing a data exchange platform for real-time info sharing between government departments. Third, implementing modern, secure digital payment systems. And fourth, consolidating public services into trusted digital channels, aiming for a single, zero-rated platform like www.gov.za and maybe a MyMzansi app.
Okay, so the purpose and benefits are pretty clear then. Better efficiency, accessibility, service quality.
That's the goal. And aiming for significant fraud reduction, substantial cost savings, they point to existing successes like SARS e-filing and the SASA grant payment digitization. Plus, improving transparency, cutting red tape.
Sounds ambitious.
It is. But what's emphasized as a core principle, according to the sources, is that this must be inclusive transformation. It's not about getting rid of non-digital options.
Right, that's important.
Very. It's about prioritizing vulnerable populations. Phase 1 specifically focuses on social protection systems. Critically, the plan is for digital channels to be zero-rated, so data costs aren't a barrier. And they plan to leverage existing physical service points, like the Sun centers, to provide digital support. It shows a real intention to avoid a digital divide.
Okay, good. Now, alongside this transformation, there's data localization. The National Data and Cloud Policy Act of 2024 mandating SA data stays in SA.
Yes, that's a key development. Mandating that South African data should, wherever feasible, remain within the country. Though this policy doesn't come out of nowhere, it builds on existing laws. the Protection of Personal Information Act, POPI, from 2013, it already had quite strict conditions for transferring personal data across borders.
So it effectively encouraged localization already.
In a way, yes, by making it complex unless the destination offered adequate protection or you got explicit consent. And the Cybercrimes Act of 2020 complements this, ensuring cyber offenses involving local data fall under SA jurisdiction, reinforcing that idea of digital sovereignty.
Got it. So the implications are pretty clear, driving local data centers.
Exactly. It directly drives investment from Microsoft, AWS, Google, as we talked about. Keeping data local reduces latency, fosters the local digital economy, strengthens the ecosystem, and it supports that broader push for digital sovereignty. We've even seen the information regulator take action against platforms like WhatsApp regarding data handling based on similar principles.
So, considering these big government shifts, how might this digital transformation and data localization potentially impact your interactions with public services? And just personally, how important is it to you that your data stays within South Africa? All right, finally, let's touch on the startup ecosystem. The sources paint a picture of vibrant communities, especially in Cape Town and Johannesburg, key tech hubs. And there's significant private sector support mentioned, from big players like Naspers, Telkom, FNB, Nedbank.
Yeah, and we've seen some real success stories emerge. TimeBank hitting unicorn status, that's over our 18.8 billion valuation in 2024, is a notable recent one. Cape Town gets a specific mention as a major African tech hotspot, attracting talent, even digital nomads.
And it's quite youth-led.
Interestingly, yes, the sources point that out, partly spurred, perhaps sadly, by that very high youth unemployment rate, which is over 50%.
In terms of sectors, fintech is still dominant.
Still the majority of startups, yes. But edtech is also highlighted as having strong growth potential.
Okay, but it's not all smooth sailing. The sources are clear about significant challenges, aren't they?
Definitely. Brain drain is still a major issue. G1, which was a unicorn itself, moving its HQ abroad, is cited as an example. Then there's subpar infrastructure, especially unreliable electricity, load shedding a constant hurdle, corruption concerns, regulatory complexity, high entry costs, fierce competition from established players, all impacting SMEs and startups.
And the venture capital situation, funding took a hit.
A steep decline, yes. Dropped by around 52% between 2022 and 2024. That's sharper than many other regions globally. Although the sources do note some signs of recovery in late 2024. The median deal value increased, which might suggest investors are being more selective, maybe focusing on fewer, higher quality bets.
Despite those hurdles, there are collaborative efforts mentioned. Government initiatives, agencies, private investment.
Yes, encouraging signs there. Things like the Digital Economy Mission Plan, support from agencies like the NYGDA and CITA, private money from Naspers, VCs like Knife Capital. And importantly, ecosystem stakeholders are working together on a potential South Africa Startup Act, trying to create a more favorable policy environment.
So thinking about that makes the energy, the innovation, but also the obstacles. Could you see yourself starting a tech business here? And which of those challenges feel most significant from your perspective?
So just to kind of wrap things up, the sources consistently bring us back to these persistent challenges across the whole sector. Critical skill shortages, particularly in those cutting-edge areas like cybersecurity and AI, the ongoing need for infrastructure development, for equitable access, quality broadband for everyone, and those structural hurdles facing the startup scene.
And the clear conclusion drawn across the board seems to be the need for deep collaboration, right? Government, industry, academia, all needing to work much closer together.
Absolutely. The sources frame it as a strategic imperative, essential not just for addressing skills gaps or fostering balanced regulation, but fundamentally to ensure the digital ecosystem that emerges is inclusive, secure, and actually benefits the whole population.
Yeah, meeting these challenges seems key to really solidifying South Africa's position as a leading digital economy on the continent.
And critically, ensuring the benefits of this massive transformation are shared by everyone, not just a few. Which brings us to a final thought for you to consider, sort of building on that AI paradox and the need for inclusive growth. Given the rapid adoption of AI by South African workers, which is quite high, but also those deep anxieties about job displacement, how can individuals, educators, and policymakers work together, like right now, to ensure this digital transformation creates a future where technology truly empowers everyone, rather than leaving many behind?
Thanks for tuning into IT Playground Podcast. Join us next time for more tech talk, insights, and innovation. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us for more.